Boom. And we're live.
All right. Hello, world.
Hello, world. Here at the American Bandstand. Ashland Bandstand.
Absolutely. One of the finest.
One of the finest. I used to come to this place with my grandma, listening to the classical music.
Nice.
Like when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Like that was the summer jam. I don't know. Do they still do that?
Well, not right now. COVID is putting a damper on things.
Oh, yeah,
They do have some events here. I think I've seen like an orchestra play out here, and then I've seen a high school graduation go down back here.
Yeah.
I actually was climbing up along the top of that when I was when I was about 12, 13. I was being a little rebellious teenager, and then I would slide down it on my butt. It was the most fun. It was so fun.
See, you're more of a risk taker than I am. Like, I've always wanted to, but never have.
Oh, it's so
you're like one of those friends. Like,
totally worth it.
You're the kind of guy that's like, oh man, that's the guy who does all the things I want to do, but I only got one ball.
We've all only got so much. Yeah, exactly. It was dangerous. It was dangerous.
Well, what's funny about that is getting into the snowboarding world. You know, as a snowboard instructor.
Yeah.
Like, these people go hard.
Oh, yeah.
And they like push themselves to go to the next level. Yeah. Almost to the point where they give you pressure and you're like, I just like to cruise. Is that okay? Is that okay if I just... No, you must go to the next level or you shouldn't be here. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
A lot of peer pressure going on.
Yeah, but then I realized like, well, that's your jam.
Yeah.
If I gave you pressure for my jam, you'd probably be like, you know what I mean? So I realized
make it to work the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like everybody has their own jam and they go hard how they go hard.
Right.
So don't give other people like that pressure. Yeah. Just enjoy how you go hard and like let it go after that.
Absolutely.
So like, you know, for you, like I snowboard. You snowboarded like once?
I've been several times in my life, and I actually went back, you know, when you came down and you were talking to me and my brother and about us going up to visit, you kind of motivated, like we didn't really have the time to make it up your way at that point.
Yeah.
But you did motivate us to go up on the mountain. It was honestly incredible. It was a great
There
experience.
You go, right?
So, yeah, no, that was a blast.
I love it.
It was a blast.
But you see, like, you had access to have fun there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, if you're gonna go snowboarding, you gotta go to the level.
There was no pressure.
But that's what I'm saying. Like with these outdoor extreme things, it's like you go all out or nothing. It's like, what are you talking about?
You know, I think that's something called gatekeeping, and I don't know if you've heard that term or not.
I haven't.
That can apply to almost anything, any situation in life, and it really does actually happen quite frequently. It can be so. An example that just popped in my head is because like I'm into video games. I like to play video games. So there are some gatekeepers of the community, let's say, and so what they'll do is, and especially this is towards women, because you know there's less women involved in video game culture, let's say, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's shifted over time, but definitely
interesting.
It started as like a more male-dominated thing, and I think it still probably skews towards men. So guys would, like, if a girl says, you know, a gal says, "Oh, I play video games. I love video games." Then they'll be like, "Oh, really? Like, what do you play?" You know? Right? And she'll be like, "Oh, well,
you can't get past this gate."
Yeah. Well, I play Pokemon. They're like, "Oh, which ones?" You know, like, "Oh, that's you know,
really?
What's your yeah." No, I mean, this is a real thing.
Why? Why do people do that?
I don't know.
Insecure?
I mean, I think obviously there's, you know, it's a part of human nature because it's so prevalent. It is so common. And I'm not saying everybody does it all the time. But it does happen.
But it's across all like hobbies,
and
practices,
exactly,
industries.
Yeah, you can see it all over. And like I like to play poker too, and poker is another one where you'll certainly see. Although I would say there's less of that there, but there still will be kind of this judgment or this, you know, it's like you're not really a part of, you know, what you say you are unless you meet my particular standards. Like I'm the one that decides, you know. So there are those guys out there like, "Oh, really? Oh, you're going snowboarding, huh? Is that what you call that?"
Like, why?
Yeah, man.
Why give that pressure?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I try not to do that, but I think I probably have at some point.
Unconsciously, we've done it. I've done it, probably.
Yeah, you know, but.
Well, ultimately, what I've learned is, like, I get to own my jam. And once I, like, find, I guess, place and purpose and empowerment in my jam, then I'm free from comparing myself to others or putting, I don't know, gatekeeping, as you call it. Like,
yeah.
Like, there's no need.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, I think that's a strength of yours, Jason, is really owning your own self and what you're into, and kind of creating your environment, creating the world around you that you want to have, and without maybe forcing it on other people.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. I might swing too far to the other pendulum where I don't own it enough.
Okay. Yeah.
If you see what I'm saying, like I think I struggle from self-doubt, and like it's good to have like friends like you that remind me of like, no, you're doing fine, because I beat myself up all the time to a fault where it's like, dude, calm down. Well, you're doing fine.
No, it's interesting to hear you say that, because obviously we always have, like, what goes on in our own head and our own perceptions of things are definitely different than what others perceive. You see, just because we have a very intimate access to our own thoughts, so I don't see those doubts as much.
That's true.
And I'm hearing you voice them, and obviously, that's real for you. But there are people out there where it's very evident, and so I guess we'll just say you're faking it really well. So that's something. I mean, that's sort of something right there.
So what's the goal? Like, what's the way, like the best way then? Oh, in Bela's perception of like being human.
The best way to be human.
Yeah.
That's such a deep question.
Well, I mean, this is where we go, man.
I know. We're getting into the deep waters.
We've finally done it.
We're getting into the deep waters.
We've always wanted to do this.
Yeah. No,
starting at Greenleaf.
This is like 10 plus years in the making.
This is finally we're here. Absolutely. So let's just get right to it.
Okay. All right.
What's the best way to be human?
Well, you just gotta watch what I do and try your best.
Try your best to meet my bar.
Exactly. Let me gatekeep it for you here. No, I mean, realistically, I think the answer to that is that you have to be true to yourself, right? You have to, I think people tend to fall onto either side of that, where some people are really, this is how everything's going to be, and they kind of force the world around them. And then there are the people that are the conforming to what other people want, right? And kind of shaping themselves. So finding that balance where you get to be yourself, but you're not like screwing other people over from being themselves.
Like narcissistic.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
How do I say it? I'm not pronouncing it.
Narcissistic.
Yeah, narcissistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you. So that balance between like staying true to yourself, but not going completely narcissistic.
Yeah. Exactly. Kind of.
And then the other end would be losing yourself in somebody else's narcissism, or even if they're not trying to be narcissistic, you are comparing yourself too much to, you're putting them on a pedestal, basically.
That's a pretty good way to sum it up. Yeah.
And without them like wanting you to.
That's exactly right. And I think some interactions, like some dynamic in relationships, you're going to have that between like a couple, one person maybe more.
I've been there.
Right. And then other people are maybe like that almost with everybody they meet. And those are kind of extremes, but there are the people out there that are, you would call them a people pleaser, for example.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, they're really putting themselves on the back burner in any given situation, trying to meet whatever. And a lot of times, interestingly enough, it's like they're manufacturing in their own mind what they think other people want or something, right?
Yeah.
And then for sure. It's like, well, I never even wanted you to do that. Or
it doesn't. It doesn't work.
Actually, that bothered me, and you didn't even want to do it.
That's the irony.
Like a whole lot of shit. Yeah.
So what then?
Bad stuff.
Honest communication, transparency.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, honest communication is huge, and of course, I mean that's a never-ending opportunity for growth for us as human beings.
Yeah. Because you got to pick your battles sometimes. It's like if you were just transparent all the time, like you wouldn't be able to function. Like you would trigger so many people.
Right. Yeah, you can't. It's not just honest communication. It's communication. It's being honest and communicating in a manner that works with the people or persons that you're communicating with at that time. And I think that's
to the best of your ability, right? Like
I think that's one of the biggest struggles is that everybody can communicate a little differently. So you could say the exact same thing to two different people.
And they would hear.
One of them would hear exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Respond really well.
Yeah.
And another person, you might have just picked the fight.
Do you think that's almost like a chemistry thing? Because I know I've been around people where like I hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
And definition wise, they're not meaning what they're saying.
Right.
But their energy behind what they're saying or doing is like, I know, I feel you.
Yeah, there's. I mean, chemistry would certainly you could call it that for sure, but it definitely is. I think it's just the way that some people are wired, the way other people are wired. They don't mesh well. So
well, but then you got people. Well, yeah, because you got people that say all the right things, but their energy is like, I don't trust you.
Right.
Right. So what is that?
So we're talking back to politics again here.
I mean, it all weaves together, right?
Around, yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I mean, like, I think there's just a vibe sometimes. Like I can feel a vibe with someone instantly, and I kind of know, like, all right, this is how to navigate this situation.
Right.
And sometimes it's like, oh, this is going to be fun, or this is going to be a chore.
Right.
And it's like on a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But ultimately, I'm doing it for everyone's benefit. But then there's like, like working in the restaurant business. Mm-hmm. I know we've had experiences where you're training someone, and you even told me this, like, people have off days, and you give them grace. But when like it gets into like they meet that mark where they have so many off days where this isn't going to help the restaurant anymore.
Yeah.
You really can't be here.
It's not an off day. That's just a day for them. That's what you start to realize. That's not an off day. That's just a normal day.
Yeah. And this isn't going to work out.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And yeah. I mean, those are always tough. Like working in the restaurant industry, I feel like I don't know how every industry works and every job out there, but I did feel like we got a disproportionately high percentage of people that would have a lot of shit going on. Stuff going on in their life.
You could do it. Don't worry about it.
Because it was, it's like almost anyone can get a job at a restaurant. Like, let's just be honest.
Well, that's what makes it cool, though. You get a hodgepodge of people.
Absolutely, you absolutely do. And I mean, I met some amazing people, a lot of very interesting characters. Had a ton of fun.
Well, that's how we became friends.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you're amongst the best, but there's so many amazing people that work at the Greenleaf.
There's better.
You know that. No, you're right at the top. I'm top tier.
I'm playing with you.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there could be so many amazing people who have met there over the years goes to show. And I mean, some of that was, I think, Daniel and kind of like almost the energy that he had and what he would bring in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, even just that industry in general. But you definitely still would see all types.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working in a different field now, and it's a very different
accounting
type of people. Yeah, exactly, accounting. And I mean, what I would say it's more professional. And I mean, interestingly enough, when I think about how I am at work there versus like how I was at the restaurant, I'm a little bit of a different persona, right? I'm bringing a different side of myself to the table, but I'm not a different person completely. So it is possible that everybody there is just like all the people at the restaurants, but they're all just bringing their professional side. It is possible.
Well, then how do you define professional?
But at least they're trying.
Because that seems to be the difference, right? So like, what does that mean to put on the professional suit, to put on the professional front, to put... Like, what is that?
There's a lot there, but like just for starters, when we just started taking this hike, and you said, let's try to keep the cussing down, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I was at the restaurant,
it was encouraged.
yeah, we pretty much.
There was never. Yeah, I feel you. There was never like, yeah.
And then also kind of what topics we could talk about. Very open, very free, right? We had free
Which made it actually awesome.
Very, very enjoyable. I love that. I mean, I miss that. That's certainly, I would say that's one of the things that I do miss, that's maybe not quite as great in my current job, but it's different.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but obviously we're just going to be a little more, professional. I don't know, yeah.
I think, so then maybe it means accessible because...
family friendly.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, there's more people that have access to you when you're not talking about said topic or using said words.
Yeah.
There's more access. So maybe that's being professional. Like you're reading the demographic and you're opening yourself up to more, you're more approachable.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
By a broader brush of
and
types of people.
Specifically in the accounting profession, I would say, and again, kind of like, this is my perception, and I'm semi-new to the field, so maybe I'm off base a little bit with this. Maybe it's internal, but I feel like there's, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but, or maybe it is the right word. There's kind of a pressure to look a certain way, act a certain way, just have a certain mannerism, way of speaking. It's like articulate, composed, intelligent, knowledgeable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm wrapping into that professionalism label. And, certainly some people brought some of that to the restaurant, but some people didn't bring any of that. And realistically, I didn't bring all that either. I mean, I just brought a really solid work ethic, desire to do well, and the ability to keep pace, man. And that was...
I think that's where we got along.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted to keep the morale high.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was another...
I love that about you.
Yeah, like, I feel like that goes far in that kind of stress situation. Like, if you're going to cause any kind of unnecessary friction,
right,
there's just no room for it.
Right. Yeah, there's already enough friction. There is an awful lot already. We don't need any...
And I think we even talked about that. Like, we're working with knives.
Right. Exactly.
You don't want to piss anybody off in a high-stress situation where they're holding a knife.
Yeah, these aren't dull knives. These are freshly sharpened.
Yeah.
And you know how to take a battle wound and keep on going.
That's what I actually love about that environment. It was like the perfect storm of like, okay, these things are set up in this situation where it's make or break. Like, there's real life consequence. Yeah. Like, you can't just do whatever you want to do. Like, there's some real life consequence guidelines here.
Yeah.
And it makes it very like, you have to be in the moment. Like,
oh yes,
you can't just be like drifting off into space.
No, it's very in the flow.
You won't float. You won't survive. Like, you can't be in your own head. Like, you got to be in the game or out. Like,
right. Yeah. That's a definitely important there, and I think that is one reason that obviously you were good at it. I was good at it. Just being able to kind of envelop yourself in that moment and focus the hell up.
You have to, yeah. Well, and I think too, a big part of it was there were so many people relying on you. No matter who you were in the restaurant, like as a server or cooking or line back or dishwasher, like maybe dishwasher less so, but that's true though. It all is super interconnected.
Everything could go to hell pretty quick without.
That's true. We have to have clean pans to cook the next thing.
Right. But we're on to bigger and better things. How's your tree to tree situation these days?
That's good, man. We're reopening, and I've been learning how to delegate, and
it's a good skill to have.
Yeah. And to let things go.
Is that hard? Is that hard for you?
It is, because I think I'm learning that I'm unconsciously into details and controlling the details that I set. And if I don't think someone can take them over, then I get a little nervous.
Oh.
But I have a current assistant that is killing it.
Oh, nice.
So, it's nice to let her take ownership with those things.
Yeah.
And adjust them too. Like, let her have ownership with them and change what I've done.
Ooh, that's
a big thing, right?
That's a big comfort zone stretcher.
But I have confidence that she is making it better. Like, because that's my jam, is like, if it works, it works. Right? Like, let's just make this smooth. And it's a team thing. It's not that. I think that was my struggle there, or is my struggle there, is when we don't have team players.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a hard job. Like, the ego doesn't last long here. Like,
right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think when it comes to leadership, those are a couple of the big challenges, really. Learning how to let go and allow somebody else to take over something and kind of just, be okay with that is challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think, and then I've experienced some people that don't care much at all, but the majority of them probably just didn't care about the whole place. I was like, well, I'm not really even invested. But once you get invested and you really care about, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a job or, whatever you got going on there with that group, it's it can be tough. But
well, I think that's like, I think my care is so ingrained there that I'm learning that I'm not doing it justice by holding the whole bandwidth.
Yeah.
So by me actually letting it go, parts of it, it's making it better.
Right. As long as you've got the right pieces in place.
Right pieces and right people. And well, that's the thing. I mean, like, it's messy, like life, right? Like, there's no ideal always situation.
Yeah.
Because like we're messy humans.
Yeah.
And then you get these moments that are awesome where everything just syncs up.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is exactly, but I think that's just kind of life. Like,
pure luck, buddy. Just enjoy it while it lasts, because it probably ain't going back. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, life is it's complex as hell. I mean, life is so complicated, and that's why, you know, that's one reason why I think I'm more of like an optimistic type of a person.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of weird, but
no, I hear you.
It's like, I understand that like life's crazy, and who knows what's going to happen, you know, and that people out there are going to try to do good, and then they're going to accidentally, you know, something's going to get messed up, or life's going to happen, you know. And so I feel like there's always, I feel like people are genuinely good natured. They want to do the right thing, and then life happens, and we all screw stuff up constantly. But it doesn't bother me that much, you know. I'm like, well, that's a part of the beauty of life. Speaking of, these are really pretty flowers we got going on here.
Yeah. Optimism.
Yeah, very nice.
Well, I mean, Elon Musk talks about that. How it's almost a logical thing to be more optimistic.
Oh. Yeah.
Because with his relationship with AI, he's talked about how it's too late. Like, and there's
no going back. Huh?
There's no going back in his mind, right?
Yeah.
And he was really nervous about it.
Yeah.
And so he tried to like, hey everyone, hey, watch out, like. And now it's to a point in his timeline of humanity where it's like it's happening.
Wow.
And so he's reconciled that with, okay, well, it could go really good, it could go neutral, it could go really bad. But if he's now continually dreading it going really bad, that doesn't enhance his day-to-day quality of life. So it's more logical for him to lean into optimism.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's literally preaching exactly what I believe. Like, there's like, your life's gonna happen around you no matter what.
Yeah.
The choices that you have are basically how do I feel about it. Pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's like the vast majority of all the options that exist in life are, how do I feel about all this crazy stuff going on around me at any given time?
Yeah.
And you can, I mean, not that it's always intentional and not that people have ultimate control over it, but in so much as you do have that ability, you basically do get to dictate whether your life really sucks or is really awesome. Like, if you constantly, I mean, you know, let's just take this hike as a random example. I could be focusing on the fact that it's a hot day, you know, and I don't know, like, oh, like there's bugs around, right? There's insects, and they're kind of, you know, nipping at me occasionally, and I almost think, is that a skunk I smell? Or like,
yeah, I was smelling that too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, so there's always something you could find to really hone your attention on that's negative. At any given moment, there is something, but it's just, why? That just makes you suffer.
Well, it increases the mild suffering. We're always that's always at kind of the surface.
Yeah, life is
it's
suffering.
Like you want to just throw more wood on the.
yeah, exactly. There's always kindling there, and if you really want to stoke that fire, you can.
Well, and not to belittle, like, you know, I mean, everyone's experience is their experience, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one to kind of navigate, but I think there is that point of, in the moment, what's happening now. I have many things to perceive,
right,
and I get to choose.
Yeah,
and that's where I feel empowered, and that's where I feel other people have the power. To be able to make that choice. Nobody else can make that choice for them.
Right.
The guy that was in, forget his name, he wrote Man's Search for Meaning. And he was in a concentration camp.
Oh, wow.
And he wrote this book of how he, I guess, navigated that.
Yeah.
And the big theme is acceptance, like accepting, all right, this day.
Yeah.
And that's how he got through it. And I'm not giving it justice, but there's that level.
Sounds like it would be. I would be probably put to the test of my optimism
right?
in a situation like that.
Exactly. That's the point. Is like,
yeah.
And then I feel bad. Like, who am I to say like, I haven't been in the concentration camp or been tortured. Like right. you hear about these people that go through this crazy suffering, and then here we are like, just be optimistic. What do we know?
Yeah.
So I feel lucky, very lucky, that I haven't been in those situations, or had anybody seriously, tortured or gone through prison, or like in my life, like in my family. It's been, so I don't know. There's that. I don't know.
Yeah, we are really blessed, I think, or have been so far. At least we were born into a relatively stable environment. Really, we're not getting bombed. We're not getting torture.
Yeah, just like 100 years ago, I could have been born, and it would have been a different, such a different life.
Yeah,
like I could have been through World War II, or like.
Yeah, although I mean, who knows what's in the future, but we're optimists. Well, it's all good, I'm sure. It's all good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so speaking of the situations we're born into and the times that we're in, I kind of find it interesting thinking about history when when you're in school and you're learning, reading the textbooks, and there's these crazy situations. You're like, I can only imagine what it would be like, and legitimately. The plague, the bubonic plague, and these other widespread diseases were one of those subjects where it was like, I just had this vision, this fantasy in my head of like how it would look and how everyone would behave, and then here we are, 2020. We're living it through. I mean, this time
worldwide.
It's worldwide, and it will be in the textbooks. This is going to be a history topic. Exactly how severe, we don't know yet. Like we're not to the end of the journey on that. Mm-hmm. But it is really interesting because in one way, when I would think about it, I would think about how drastically different things must have been, and it was just like what everyone's just literally like scared to even go outside or touch each other or get anywhere close, and you just hold up, and life seems to have gone on, for the most part, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess in one way that is kind of the lesson, that almost no matter what is happening around you, life does continue.
Goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or wherever it may be. But this is a little better. We're doing a little better in the concentration camp. Sophia Park.
Yeah, life goes on. I mean, that's the whole river analogy. Like the water will not stop.
Yeah.
Will not stop. It's funny. One of my friends that I've become friends with recently, he's into qigong, and he talks a lot about the river and how water just flows and it relaxes.
Yeah.
And you never see a river that's like neurotically, where do I go? What do I do? It's just, it relaxes and it goes and it doesn't stop and it just flows.
Nice, yeah.
And it's like, I like that idea. And I feel like the major, I think, times in my life where I'm like, this is not good. Quality of life is low. Is like when I get in stagnant thinking, I'm holding on to something so dearly, and I just don't let it go. Like, and don't let it be in the past. Like, that's not now anymore.
Right, yeah.
Like you say, like life goes on. Like, it's not stopping. And it's a weird thing to do for us to think, to live in the past is it's an illusion.
Yeah.
And the past is just 5 seconds ago. You know what I mean?
We are all time travelers. We are time travelers. We're in the future.
Okay, I'm wondering what we do.
Which way to go from here?
Do we just turn around and walk back the same trail?
Totally up to you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can even I wonder what's over here. Have you been down here? Just a creek. Huh?
Yeah, it's a creek. It goes,
Just take a gander.
Take a gander.
Maybe sit by the water for a second. What do you think?
Let's do it, yeah. It's funny, I visited this exact spot multiple times on my trip here.
Nice.
I was here today and yesterday.
This is the place then?
There's a magic spot here.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the flow of the water.
Exactly,
so,
yeah. What do you think? You want to get in there? Or?
If you do.
No, I'm not doing it. I hate the cold. I hate cold water. I love water, and I love being near it, and I even love swimming in warm water.
Yeah.
Cold water? Well, I'm a big baby.
Well, it's actually, I go right in there. Right, let me put it right there. I've been in there twice since my trip because my back's been really hurting me.
Yeah.
And I've been studying Wim Hof.
I don't know what that is.
And his technique with breathing and being in cold it helping the body out. And I actually kind of, I didn't break my back, but I tweaked my back mixing 50, 80-pound bags of cement in one day.
Ooh, wow.
And so that significantly has helped. Like getting in cold water and just breathing, it detoxes the cells when you do that heavy breathing. And being in the cold just resets things in the body. So this has been a healing, magical place for me.
Nice.
But also, I am hot tubbing later tonight.
Ooh, see, that's more my jam.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like
I don't like cold tubbing, but I do like hot tubbing.
yeah, who cold tubs? Yeah. Hey, you want to come over to my place later and get in my cold tub?
Yeah, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
I will pass.
Yeah, no, I don't like being cold either, but I think it does. If you're willing to do it for a bit, it has some healing properties.
I'm not willing.
Okay, you don't get injured, and then maybe
I'm willing to do
when the pain is staying the same is greater than change, and change will happen.
Well, with this minor sunburn that I have, which it's getting better now, but I mean, I was burnt for sure on my arms and my face.
Yeah.
I can't take a hot shower, and I love hot showers.
They're
just amazing. They're one of the most amazing things. And so I've been taking cold showers, and oh man, I don't know, it's not therapeutic. I somehow have lived in this valley for most of my life and never hiked Table Rock.
Really? Table Rock is amazing.
I know.
Have you ever done Pilot Rock?
I've done Pilot Rock.
Yeah.
I've done so when I was up on, when I did the Table Rock hike, there is a little plaque where they talk about, I guess, the guy that pioneered that trail, also did a few others, and I've done the Grizzly Peak Trail that we did. But they mentioned a couple other ones, one in Applegate and one in Roosh, that I was like, well, I bet those are cool trails too. Maybe.
Nice.
I need to go check those out.
Well, I think we will be doing this again because I feel like we could hit any topic or any just kind of
Oh, we didn't even get to our boulders. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we could hit anything and
flow.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like our universe of synergetic conversation just opens up. I don't know. I think our ability to dialogue without getting triggered could it usually takes us down some pretty awesome roads, and so nice. I feel like this will continue.
Have you had some triggering with any of these, or have you had some real?
No. I think I have. There's just some vibes or people where there's just certain things I won't bring up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And or the conversation needs to be more about them.
Oh,
or I need to be asking more questions to stimulate conversation.
Yeah.
With you, it's just like, open the gates. Let's.
Right. Well, actually, there's a whole bunch of topics that are in my mind or that we haven't talked about.
Exactly. And I think we have that kind of vibe. Like we've talked about before. It's like we go on these crazy rabbit trails and then come back to the original topic.
Right. An hour later.
Oh, but it's like it opens up this web of consciousness or information, I think, where it's like it's just fun. It's like, oh wow, we could go so many different ways.
Well, the cool thing is we're basically doing what we were just talking about earlier, where it's like we're essentially controlling our own realities. And in a way, we were talking about doing that internally, right? With your own, how you choose to focus your energy on, positive things or negative things.
Yeah.
But when you spend time with somebody else, and especially when you have conversation, dialogue, you're kind of doing that, you're sharing that power with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? And then between the two of you, you are crafting your reality.
Yeah.
And so, if you've ever been, let's say, in a fight with somebody, it's like, well, you're crafting a sucky reality.
Yeah.
But that's a very real moment in time where it's like, just you, that other person, and the words that you guys are using with or against each other.
Yeah.
You know, versus like when you just spend time with a friend or family or loved ones or even a puppy dog, whatever. You know, but the reality that you can craft together.
It's so true, and I think there's actually more benefit that comes out of crafting a new reality with other said individual than living in an isolated world crafting your own reality. Because I've never really been in a fight, but I've heard about people that get in fights and then afterwards they're like best of friends, like a physical street fight or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time,
just
obviously.
That intensity and that shared moment or something.
They had an intimate physical moment in a very violent way. Not to promote violence or anything like that, but I think there's something to be said for connecting with another human is significantly more valuable than living in an isolated life or an isolated life.
Yeah.
You hear about like people, solitary confinement is like people would almost rather be tortured than be isolated for an extended period of time.
Right.
Like I watched a documentary on that, and it's kind of scary. Like
it's like on people that have been in prison and they have that solitary confinement.
Yeah, it was a National Geographic documentary on it. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but I remember watching it years ago.
Yeah.
And then I also heard a podcast on Radio Lab talking about the Quakers started. Actually, love Quakers. So, but everyone messes up. But they had a penitentiary. It comes from penitence, and so they designed these prisons where you would be fully isolated from any sound interaction in a cell, and you'd have one window at the very top of your cell, and that would help you focus on divinity or just
a hope of a better life.
And it would have you have penitence and really reflect on what you did wrong, and maybe you'll make different choices now.
Yeah.
Everyone went insane.
Oh, jeez.
Because they were isolated, and so it got shut down.
How long were they keeping these people in there?
As long as it took, or they thought it would take.
For them to go insane?
Well, yeah, because they didn't get better.
Yeah.
So I think there's a healthy level of solitude and vision questing, and I run in the woods every morning, and I have these cool thoughts, but extended isolation, is dangerous.
Well, and especially, I think you are talking about involuntary, and I think that is relevant. So I don't think they're super common, but think of actual genuine hermits, right? Like that.
Okay.
It's a real thing, right?
Yeah,
There are people out there that really do not seek out the comfort of others.
Okay, that's true. Yeah.
And I think that's just like any other topic, any other thing that in life or in like a temperament or personality type. I think there's people that can be on one extreme or the other, and then most of us fall somewhere in the middle. But there are definitely people that absolutely need nonstop contact, right? And I mean, and that's just how they are. And then there are people on the other side of it where it's just like
this way.
Humanity is, not much of a gift to them, I feel. And I don't know if that's. I'm sure sometimes for some of those people, they've had particularly bad experiences, and maybe they've withdrawn from the world for that reason. But I do think that as a personality type, I have a duality where I love other people, and I love connecting and sharing the world with others. But I also, man, do I can be gosh darn content.
I know.
In solitude. And so there's a part of me that's like, well, I could see, like somebody that was just that side of me, but more extreme, just going like, I have a way better time by myself, so I'll catch you guys never.
Catch you guys never.
That's, I don't know. And so I don't think it's common, and I think probably it's probably more common far more common, I would say, these days, that there are people that wish they could connect more than they do.
Yeah.
And are in maybe sort of an involuntary solitude for a variety of reasons. And I don't think that's very healthy. I think that's what people run into real.
So like with the pandemic, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah, the pandemic's a good example for sure. Yeah. Yeah, some people are going crazy after, not even very long.
Yeah.
But I'm well built for it.
Yeah.
I have a small social network that I'm, still interact with without going too far outside of my bubble.
Yeah.
And then there's all sorts of ways to reach out to people these days anyway, between social media and, texting and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
that.
interesting the comfort that did bring, even if it wasn't in proximity.
Yeah.
Which was interesting for me because I do think proximity is the best.
Oh, without a doubt, yes.
But also I was like, wow, this really helped. Like,
yeah.
And I've always resisted that. Like, I've always looked down on that. But now I was like, okay, I see the benefit now.
Yeah, the rare benefit to social media. I do kind of agree, with or I guess you didn't explicitly state this, but I'm not a huge social media. I don't think it actually does more good than bad. I guess that's kind of where I weigh in on it.
Yeah.
I think overall it's kind of a negative, but
well, as I'm producing social media, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah. No, that's true. And I mean, I guess social media does fall into a variety of categories. I am kind of specifically thinking of like certain elements, and I guess it's probably a broader category. I'm just thinking of like, let's just say Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like those big three almost. I feel like there's so much. There's just, I don't know. I guess there is definitely some good stuff out there on them, but I find a lot of negativity and a lot of. It's almost like you're getting human contact in a sense, but it's not even really very good. It's not, it's not like, not bringing good energy. It's not bringing positivity much. Maybe I'm just hanging out with the wrong people on there. Almost.
Well, what surprised me is the ads.
Oh yeah.
Significantly on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm getting a paddleboard.
Yeah.
And I've been researching paddleboards, the one I want, and then all of a sudden, like, on my newsfeed is all these different paddleboards, and I'm like,
oh, yeah.
what is
Yeah, they're tuned in.
how did
They are tuned in.
that's kind of, and that's why I stopped watching TV or even bought the monthly prescription on Pandora is so I didn't have to hear the commercials.
Oh, totally.
Like I hate commercials, and so if that's becoming like my social media world, well, goodbye. Like, I can only take so much of that before I'm like, that's not the life I want. Like,
right. Oh, it's very true. They're super prevalent. They're on Facebook a lot more now than they used to be. And,
yeah.
And I don't go on Twitter much at all. Twitter, I don't know. Maybe I just never got Twitter. I just never. Like,
I never did it either.
It just never made a lot of sense to me.
It's
like, why do we have to say things like super short and then just that's I don't know. Anyway,
well, it's interesting. I think everything has its pro and con, right? So
yeah.
I have heard the pro of Twitter from my cousin's husband, who's like a Twitter freak, and he's like, Jason, it's like instant news. Like, and there's certain kind of people that like just want to be in the know, in like real time.
Okay.
And he's a smart dude and a cool dude. He's like, it's the best way. Like, we went into a deep conversation, and he's like, yes, there's crap, but like, I filter it out.
Yeah.
But he's like, at least and then I fact check it.
Okay.
But at least I'm getting like the most like current. It might not be right, but I'm like on the frontier of the know.
Mainlining that news into his.
And I'm like, all right, bro, you got a brain that just if you want to, bite that line, that's the line you want to ride. Cool.
Yeah.
And it, that's his jam. So
yeah.
And I feel like there's certain people that you kind of need people like that like are in the know as much as possible. Might not be accurate, but they're taking in all the information and trying to find. Like, there's certain people like that. Like my boss too. He's like, he listens to everything all the time. Mm-hmm. Constant news is blaring. And you ask him anything, he just knows instantly.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
You're like, oh, did you hear that news about that? And
he'll
he's like, finish your sentence.
And then he'll go into all these other tangents, and I'm like, yeah, this guy knows stuff. I'm like, wow, that's impressive.
I actually started reading this series recently, and it's sort of the topic that's reminding me of it. I want to say it came out in like the 80s or 90s. It's a sci-fi. I think it's a trilogy, and I think the author may have added on later. Won a lot of awards back in the day. It's called Hyperion.
Hyperion?
Hyperion.
Hyperion.
Okay, yeah, I had like heard of it before, but even though I do read a lot of fantasy. I don't read a lot of sci-fi, but I picked this book up, and I'm almost done with the. No, actually, I did. I just started the second. It is phenomenal, just for starters. They're really good. So the reason that I thought of it was that just kind of in passing, one of the characters, because there's kind of like 6 or 7 that they're following, but one of them needs some information. Essentially, needs to find out something, and she goes and gets in touch with this guy, and he's basically connected to, like, it's almost like he's connected to the internet, like intravenously or something. I mean,
Wow.
It's a very, it's a part of his entire body. He's pretty much kind of physically and mentally a part of the internet, essentially. I mean, I'm not doing it justice. The author described it in a better, more
It's our
poetic
possible
way.
future.
Yeah, but really, and it was very interesting the way that the author portrayed it. This person was only on in the book for like a page or two. It was kind of a passing character, but it really did stand out to me. Just his mannerisms and the way that he was talking about, like, essentially he got ripped out of it into like real life, by this person, because this person was trying to talk with him in the real world, and he was like basically kind of like having withdrawals immediately, and he was like counting down the moments until he could get back into it,
Wow.
And
Well, that sounds like me when I was addicted to video games.
Yeah, exactly. It was
What can I play that video
right.
game? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been there, man. I love the game, and I have certainly, I felt that, maybe not to that extreme, but definitely where it's like, okay, this is not what I want to be doing right now,
Yeah. I mean, you'd rather play that than sleep and eat. Like, that's a bad sign. Like, yeah.
No,
I've been there.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's all you think about.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Would you say that's like equivalent to like a hard drug when people are really addicted? Like,
I mean, yes and no. I think that it is in a lot of ways. Obviously, there are some differences because you're not putting a foreign substance into your body that's introducing that entire other, chemical or whatever. But you are releasing a lot of chemicals inside your own body that otherwise wouldn't be. And so I think it kind of accomplishes the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different mechanism.
the squirrel is very
Oh, wow. Yeah.
cool with us being.
What's up, homie?
Yeah. You want to tell us something, buddy?
Yeah, we had a buddy up at Table Rock. The squirrel was literally just hanging out with us, like coming up and touching our feet and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I've had raccoons do that to me.
Well, this guy is. Yeah. Look at him. He's posing.
Yeah.
He was like,
It's
ooh,
like,
I
oh,
look better over
I'm
here.
like him. Yeah, give me in a good light. Yeah.
Right.
That's funny.
Nice.
I love that.
No, it was cool. Yeah, you have these little moments in life. But like, we were up at Table Rock. I was up with a friend, this gal that I know, and we were hanging out up there, just having a little picnic or whatever. I was sunburning.
Yeah.
As I like to call it, sun tanning.
Yeah.
And the squirrel was hanging out with us, and then I was just joking around something about because there was like a lot of flies up there, and I was like, oh, I wish I had a superpower that I could turn flies into butterflies. Because how cool would that be to just always have butterflies around you?
That would be so cool.
And right when I said that, I kid you not, 2 butterflies came out of nowhere. Like,
Seriously?
2 different types even. One came literally right as I finished the sentence and flew right in between us. And then like 3 seconds later, another one came.
That's
I know.
crazy.
I know, and I was like, that's
Did
cool.
I just do a Harry Potter wizard trick
Right,
there?
manifested reality. That's pretty cool.
A fly almost. I don't know what the spell would be.
Yeah.
Fly butter. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Some-
we're not Harry Potter wizards, but we're a different kind.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah.
I had a joke about that with a friend.
Uh-huh.
Like, what if Hagrid was like, "You're a janitor, Harry." All right, thanks, big weird guy, telling me my future.
Yeah. I've always wanted to be a janitor.
Thank you for that. Like, that's just Hagrid's job. He goes to different little boys' rooms and tells them their future.
Oh, man. Yeah. He was like, wizard. He's like, janitor.
Oh, dang it. Okay, well,
I was
that's.
hoping. Yeah, whatever Hagrid says goes.
You're a pimp, Harry. All right.
Sweet. That's
All right,
all
I could.
Yeah, I mean, pimping,
Yeah.
there's worse lives out there,
Yeah.
I'm sure. There's worse lives. It actually might be better than being a wizard that's destined to have to fight, what's his name? Voldemort.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's not a great thing.
Yeah. You're an accountant, Bela.
Well, interestingly enough, when I was like 5, 6 years old, I remember my mom asked me at a very young age, what do you want to be when I grow up? And I said, an accountant.
There you go.
So, bam.
See, there you go. You know what? I believe in that.
That's my wizard.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
I think I told you about that when I turned 30. It's like, what am I supposed to do with my life?
Yeah.
And then I just had this epiphany, like, oh, I have been doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my life since I was 20, which is the outdoor challenge course, zip line, team building stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just dove into it consciously. I was in it unconsciously.
Right. Just coasting.
But, well, yeah, it was always a side gig. Yeah. And then I realized, like, oh, this is my gig.
Nice. Yes.
But nobody tells you that in school. Like,
No.
that's not like, with you, maybe it's like, oh, you can be an accountant, you
Yeah.
could be a doctor, you could, whatever,
Yeah.
There's no, like, you're going to be a challenge course facilitator.
Yeah.
Maybe now that's a thing, but back then the industry was so new that wasn't an option you would consider, right?
Yeah.
So,
there are, I mean, there's an almost endless number of jobs that exist. People do all sorts of crazy, weird things that you do not think about, that just,
Yeah.
I mean, like, there are crazier examples that would be cooler right now, but I'm just going to give you one that popped into my head. Because I had a friend that was like, works for the Bureau of Land Management, right?
Yeah.
And basically, like, involved in going around and scouting out areas for like endangered wildlife, or looking at, maybe figuring out like is there an overabundance of a certain type of animal in here, for a variety of projects. But their job was just to go out into the woods and do all sorts of different tasks outdoors that they love. I mean, that's like a dream job.
That's great.
And like I said, of course, there's crazier jobs. Maybe your dream job is to be a pimp. There's a lot of options out there, and they don't teach you all of these in school.
You're gonna be an Uber driver, Harry.
Yeah. So that's always an option for everybody these days. Yeah.
You're gonna be a window washer, Harry. I mean,
dude, I could not do that. In the big city life.
What would
90 stories up.
Well, see, that's what I could
just,
potentially.
Oh my God.
What would Haggard tell Elon Musk?
Elon Musk. Yeah, I mean, he's a wizard. You're going to be a wizard.
I guess he's a wizard. He's a lot of things.
He's a character. Yeah.
He started his own flame-throwing business. He sold flamethrowers.
Yeah.
That was just a joke business he did.
He did.
Yeah. That's how like just constantly he's doing things.
Well, and the boring company, boring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool play. I love the name. You love the name. You're literally boring into the world.
Yeah. Boring.
It's kind of boring. I mean,
side gig.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what about his son's name?
Oh, I forget.
You're aware of? You've seen it. You've seen his name, his son's name?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh! I'm gonna just. I gotta.
Speaking of butterflies.
Oh, hello, my littles.
My littles, my little preciouses.
They are here for me. No, okay. Elon Musk. I have to look it up because it is. Let's just say it's an unusual name. And then we're gonna look up. We got to hear him say it because I don't know how to. I don't know how to say it. So he has a son.
Yes.
Or if you didn't, now. Well, here's how it's spelled. Take a gander. Do you see that?
Elon Musk is an alien.
Yeah.
There's like numbers and ampersands
it's a very. Some of those aren't even. Yeah,
his son is a code. He's a 110x2.
Yeah, I think he might be trying to clue us in. My son is a robot. He's just letting us know.
Well, AI, yeah.
It says XASH12. Actually, I guess is his name, which is So I mean, he's got a little Asher. He's got a little Ash, right? Something.
What?
Yeah, like that's the.
This guy is an alien. This guy is a robot or an alien? Like,
could be both. He could be an alien robot.
Could be an alien robot.
And why limit yourself?
That was part of his plan to make us nervous about AI, but he is AI. That's the whole
Right.
Conspiracy.
Yeah.
What?
He's throwing us off the scent.
That is.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. If you're an extreme hippie, you would do that, or if you're an extreme science engineer nerd, you would do that. Like both ends of the spectrum, or same side of a different coin.
He is extreme out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I would. He's one of the guys I'd like to have a beer with.
Oh my gosh, that would be. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Him and Russell Brand.
Oh man, Russell Brand would.
How much fun would that be?
I had to pick the two between those two. I would go with Russell for sure.
Yeah, same. I think because Russell would just be funner to hang with.
Yeah. That dude. I like that dude a lot. Like every time I've heard him speak, and you know, he's so eloquent, and like he'll talk about some pretty interesting and topics that, you know, oftentimes other people don't delve into much. And
yeah,
he's, like,
exactly.
So well thought out on these subjects.
Yeah. He's like the opposite of superficial.
Yeah.
Which
he's super official.
I think because he did lead such a superficial life. I think, or he's been so extreme.
Yeah.
So it's I think produced this authentic kind of person.
Yeah.
He's very fascinating.
Yeah.
Because he's seen the depths of the superficial entertainment world.
Right.
And he's been there behind the scenes. I feel like he's in the know of like, all right. Yeah. Interesting dude.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know if I had to pick a number one. Anybody alive today? Probably you.
Hey, well, here we are.
Well, let's go for attainable goals, right? You know?
Do you see yourself as a potential family man down the road?
I see myself as you know, the male part of a wonderful family, but I don't know where the female part of that is yet. So you know, it takes two to tango.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat as you, man.
Yeah,
I'm surprisingly very content single right now.
Yeah.
Like I was single the whole pandemic, and I'm like
Yeah.
actually not looking forward to a relationship.
Oh, really? So
or any kind of connection. I'm just like, I'm really enjoying, honestly, being by myself. Like I was up here on the trails 2 days ago, just like having a blast by myself.
Wow, nice. Going full hermit, huh?
Yeah, mountain biking. Yeah. I know I'm being hypocritical, but
No.
I have enough healthy like interaction, but also alone time where I'm like, just jamming. Like I'm going to the coast to visit some random friends tomorrow.
Nice.
There's nothing like, I have full freedom to just kind of
that is nice when you're single and you have that ultimate freedom. I'm
liking it. Not to say that I couldn't have someone or partner with someone down the road, but I think the season of my life right now is happily single.
Yeah. Well, it's a good place to be, and I think obviously that's a great foundation to build off of. If and when you want something more, it kind of takes that to really make the next level successful. Mm-hmm. There are people out there that don't have a good place on their own, and so they're like constantly trying to find somebody else to help build that place. It's like you gotta get some stability under you and then go from there. I've had stability. I definitely have the stability, but I haven't been in a rush for a while. I'm not like, I need a girlfriend. I need a wife. I need kids in my life.
Yeah.
I do think that it's an aspect of life, especially like children and even marriage or that, lifelong commitment to a partner, I guess, let's say, is something I haven't experienced. And I have heard wonderful things. I've also heard
horrible things.
I have friends that are going through that journey, and I do get to see and be a part of it from an outside perspective. Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. I've learned, like with Crosby, my son, like to find something that we both enjoy and make that the focus of our time together.
Yeah.
And so that's why I started that skit show, Hair and Hats.
Nice, yeah.
Because we both like doing skits. And it's like, oh, that's something fun.
Yeah.
This is what we do when we're together, or mountain biking or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different when you can't sleep. That's what really gets you, is when you go months on end without sleep.
Well, yeah, that's
I mean, scientifically speaking, people go insane.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. And then the women have the postpartum depression. Like, you hear horror stories. Like, it's a legit thing.
Casey Anthony or whatever that girl's name was.
Well, that's why community is so important, and why I think it's such a tragedy that we don't use our grandparents as resources, or that's not in our culture.
Yeah.
Like, I would have wished that my parents lived with us when Crosby was young. Like, that would have been, like, night and day difference.
Yeah.
But our culture didn't like make that an accessible thing, or that's just what you do. And so we're like, oh, we're supposed to do this on our own, and we're bad parents if we can't. All that stuff you tell yourself.
Right.
But why are we telling ourselves that? It's just not a cultural. So I think that's something that could be better in our current society.
I wonder why it did shift in that direction. Because I think it's Japan and some other Asian cultures for sure that have much more of maybe a lot of other cultures. I'm thinking like maybe in Mexico that's more common. But maybe it's just like us Caucasians are idiots when it comes to that for some reason.
We are very kind of strangely isolated,
like standoffish, and
and we Well, my brother even said in Kenya, he lives in Kenya, and he's like, the States are going through a little bit of a different process with the pandemic because our lifestyle is already quarantined.
I wonder why it is, but it is sad when you think about it's sad for all parts of that story, because the grandparents oftentimes end up alone. I mean, I'm not saying every single older person is alone, but like, it is a very common tale, especially as they get into their twilight years, to not have as much family contact and not have as many friends and social interactions. Meanwhile, the parents are struggling with their children, right? Like, living through this nightmare that is parenting. Then you've got the kids that hardly ever see their grandparents, and it's a weird dynamic. It is a
weird thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because we Europeans are raised in cold environments, and they stay warm, stay away. I don't know. There's probably a lot to it.
There's probably some. It could have started with some tradition that got or religious belief, or who knows what.
Yeah, who knows?
Oh,